Royal Bank of Scotland has finally settled a High Court case brought by a group of thousands of investors. They all bought shares in 2008 in a round of fundraising they claim was based on misleading information. Soon afterwards, at the height of the financial crisis, the bank nearly collapsed and had to be bailed out with £45 billion of taxpayers' money. Today, more than 2 weeks after the bank offered to settle at 82 pence a share, it was accepted. That amounts well under half what claimants paid. And crucially, it means the trial won't go ahead, and RBS's disgraced former boss, Fred Goodwin, who was stripped of his knighthood over the bank's near collapse, now won't have to give evidence. Well, despite what you'd think, there would be relief for the bank. The shares closed down 3% today. Ian Fraser is author of Shredded Inside RBS, the bank that broke Britain. He joins us now from Edinburgh. So, Ian, good evening to you. Why do you think the shareholders have folded?
I think they had little choice. I mean, when the bank came up with its enhanced offer on 21st of May, they were already in trouble because one of the key members of the group, a guy called Trevor Hemmings, agreed to take that settlement, and he also was induced to remove his funding at that point from the case. So they were in a difficult position from that moment on. But what they have done is they've actually managed to raise an additional £7 million in order to try to get the case to continue to be heard in the courts. But what happened, I think, over the weekend was that their counsel, led by Jonathan Nash QC, have actually advised them, or given an opinion advising them that they should settle. And now that that has occurred, it's impossible for them to carry on because they can't obtain something called after-the-event insurance, or their after-the-event insurance becomes void as a consequence of the recommendation from the council. So effectively, they had little choice other than to accept the 82 pence settlement offer.
Yes. So how much do you reckon RBS has paid out in terms of compensation payments now in these out-of-court settlements?
I think it's about £1 billion altogether, and they've also spent about £111 million on legal fees to their law firm and to their barristers.
Yeah, do you think that's money well spent by RBS? I mean, Vince Cable has come out, the former business secretary, and said he thinks this is an outrageous sum of money to spend on lawyers.
Well, I agree. I mean, it's a vast amount of money. It's almost unbelievable they've had to spend that much to argue this case. And I think, basically, my impression is that the board of RBS and the chief executive of RBS, who's Ross McEwen, were desperate to stop this case from being heard in open court, because there would be so much embarrassing information that would have come out during the case. And one of the most embarrassing things of all would have been the claim from the claimants that RBS was actually insolvent at the time it raised the £12 billion. So in April 2008, not long after acquiring ABN AMRO, according to the evidence they've seen from emails, internal emails and other internal documents from inside RBS, the bank, according to the claimants, was effectively bust. And in that, if that's the case, RBS would actually have faced some very serious issues. If that was proven in the court, that they had induced a payment of £12 billion from investors whilst they knew they were insolvent, they would have faced some serious difficulties as a bank, going forward.
Absolutely. What do we know about Fred Goodwin's life these days? I mean, he's been little seen in public since he stepped down from RBS.
Well, he's more or less a recluse. He does play golf quite a lot at a golf course in East Lothian, and he also shoots with a small group of friends. He does still have, some pretty close friends who are very loyal to him. But for the most part, he keeps himself to himself, and he lives in a rather posh part of Edinburgh. He's separated from his wife, Joyce, as far as I'm aware, because he is actually seeking a divorce, or she is seeking a divorce from him. So, yeah, he hasn't been actively involved in the banking world. He had a short career with an architectural practice called Ramjam, but that only lasted less than a year because there were some serious problems with that architectural practice. And since then, as far as I'm aware, he's had no job at all. But he is actually benefiting from about a £340,000 per annum pension from RBS, so he's not exactly on his uppers.